Hello and welcome to the Lorefield podcast episode 10. I'm working on title, that's how I do my intros. I'm your co-host Yzra, and I'm with my other co-host Mitch.
Hi Yzra, hello everybody.
So today we're going to be talking about the Vasco video and Into the Starfield episode 3 and another thing. But we'll get to that later.
How was your month of April?
It was good. Finished up editing and then just relaxed. Played some Xbox games and lots of Minecraft.
You never go wrong. There's no such thing as too much Minecraft. Like, the timelessness of Minecraft is like, I'll probably be playing that when I'm retired.
Same.
But yeah, my month was good as well. I think the big thing going on is in May for me. May is okay. I'm gonna go on a little like personal rant. The month of May is gonna be absolutely insane. So I'm going to the Miami Grand Prix for Formula One to start the month off, which is like, if anybody likes Formula One, that's like a big deal because those were really hard to get to. So I'm excited for that. And then I have to fly back to my school in the like Midwest for exams. And then I'm I'm moving out of my apartment and then going to the Indianapolis 500. I'm a big motorsports fan, if you couldn't tell. So it's going to be a wild month. So for that reason, I kind of hope that May is kind of a quiet month from Bethesda's end because I won't be able to keep up with everything. But the next 40 days should go by pretty fast for all those reasons. But yeah, that's my May. I'm excited. So what do you say we get into some of these comments from our last episode? We had some really good comments that a couple that we'd like to address.
Absolutely, let's get into this.
Alrighty. So firstly, there was something that I think we probably had wrong, perhaps because of like the timing of when we recorded and like things became more clear later on. So Will Shen was talking about the different starts, and he said Ryujin Industries has one of his favorite starts, and we took that to mean that you can like start the game with certain factions, like starts like game starts, but over a little bit of time, it kind of became clear that he was referring to faction starts, like the way you join the faction. And Divine Favor commented correctly, said they never said anything about different game starts. Will Shen just said he thought the Ryujin Industries faction start was the best. And that was kind of a misunderstanding. I think what happened, and I don't know if you agree, Yzra, but it seemed like the consensus for the first couple days after that Into the Starfield episode was that Will Shen was talking about the game starts. And then as time progressed, people realized there was like an edit and stuff, and they were actually just talking about the faction starts. But a little misunderstanding there, but Divine corrected us there, so thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then we've got a comment from Noodles. You want to take this one?
Sure. You mentioned that Constellation has been exploring space for 150 years. The settled systems are about 50 light years from Earth, and given that if we travel at the speed of light, it would have taken them at least 50 years to get to the settled systems. So they've only technically been exploring for 100 years, and also witnessed a war and built cities. Unless, of course, they have faster than light travel, or wormhole tech. Or maybe the constellation was formed after they got to the settled systems in an effort to explore even farther.
I like that Noodles is doing some math here, because like we were talking about this last month. Like it doesn't make sense, the timing of this, as far as faster than light travel and space exploration, how we would end up 50 light years out after 300 years from today and 150 years from the formation of Constellation. Yeah, what do you think?
I think that is faster than light, and that's mainly because like the graviton loop array, so I don't think it's going to be like with Starfield. if you're traveling from one side of the settled systems to the other side, it's not going to take like 50, 40, 45 years, 50 years. It's not going to, they must have a way to go faster than like to, as Todd said in 2019, gamify it, Anyways, it's in the future too, so. Yeah, and I believe the graviton loop array is, theorized to be the, like a warp drive kind of thing.
I like that a lot. I've had this little pet theory that the warp at the end of the 2018 teaser is like tied to that whatever like that key to unlocking everything is that we discovered. So I was thinking maybe that weird alien structure that we keep seeing like creates like it basically allowed us to start doing faster than light travel. So like Constellation were the only people doing it. But I think the graviton loop array kind of shuts that down. And then Noodles at the end of their comment said, suggested that perhaps Constellation was formed to go beyond the settled systems. And maybe, I think that could be true for Starfield 2. But as far as just the first game goes, ML specifically says our game takes place in the settled systems. So I'm not sure I agree with that just yet. But who knows? Maybe it'll be like an end game thing.
Maybe.
And then Gob had perhaps one of my favorite comments of the show. Is just very, very optimistic and positive. Gob says, the really cool part about the speculation so far is that every time we get clarification on something in a Constellation log, it's been for the better. For example, it was pretty much a consensus that we all thought the Crimson Fleet would not be a joinable faction, and then it was clarified that yes, we actually can join them. Nothing has been revealed in the negative that I can think of so far, so maybe we aren't dreaming big enough. I just think that's so exciting, and it's so true. Like, Bethesda keeps shattering expectations, and it goes back years ago to when, like, a developer's eyes would light up as they talk about Starfield, or Pete saying, like, that game is insane, like, back in 2018. So that is true. I think the expectations, it's important to keep them tempered, but I think we're really in for something special.
Definitely.
Thank you all for your comments. We love them. We love engaging with them. So keep them coming. I think we're ready now for the news from last month. There is a lot of it.
Too much. There's too much.
A little too much, yeah. It's almost like we should start doing the podcast every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe we should. We're going to do that after E3, for anyone who doesn't know. So our first bit of news is from April 6th. What happened on April 6th?
Bethesda decided to drop a Vasco lore video, which actually dropped. I was halfway into audio editing the podcast when that dropped. So that was fun.
That curse continues of getting new Starfield content, like immediately after we record an episode.
Oh, definitely. I feel like Bethesda are one step ahead of us.
Yeah. Today's Saturday, so I look forward to the new Constellation log on Tuesday. By the way, for anybody who doesn't know, every Constellation log has dropped on a Tuesday or Thursday. So if you're like obsessing over it, like checking social media every day, you only have to worry about Tuesday and Thursday because they have not dropped on any other day. Good tip. But this Vasco video started out, it was first uploaded to IGN's YouTube channel, which is weird. I don't know how that happened because all the other ones have originated from Bethesda's channel. IGN capitalized the name Vasco. It was all caps, which isn't correct from what we know. Bethesda has only capitalized the V, and it wouldn't make sense anyway because Vasco's not an acronym. It's named after a real-world explorer. according to Todd in one of his Washington Post interviews. So how IGN got their hands on this is a little bewildering.
I think because they're a news source, I think they managed to get a hold of the footage, but they uploaded too early by accident, which is fairly easy to do, I think, on YouTube. Because where you go and upload, where you click visibility, it's like unlisted, private, or public. It's one of those three options. It's easy to accidentally press one and then mistake it. I've made a few errors before on YouTube, so I think that's a possibility, maybe.
That's probably a good guess. Bethesda uploaded it themselves just a few hours later, so that's probably what happened. But that is the first time since E3 last year that any Starfield content has come from outside Bethesda. Not since the Washington Post, the morning of the conference, have we gotten anything from like a third-party news source. But anyway, what happened in the actual video? Meet Vasco. You want to give us a little rundown?
Absolutely. So Istvan Paley introduces us to Constellation's very own expeditionary robot, Vasco. According to the video, he was refurbished to meet the requirements of Constellation's mission. That mission presumably is to explore space. He is a utilitarian, heavy industrial machine, well suited to the rigours of space travel. Vasco's design is based on a standard Type A bipedal chassis capable of traversing rough terrain, along with all the survival gear and the payload capacity needed for extended overland journeys. Vasco's primary role is peaceful, but he does have defensive capabilities should the need arise. He wears the white and red livery of Constellation, though many years in the field have worn the paint and dented a few panels. But he is still the companion that an explorer like ourselves can depend on. We see different like Vasco pictures in like different positions, and like his arm, he's missing features. So I don't know if this is like a test model or they're just showing how Vasco can switch positions that is basic. But I think the biggest takeaway is possibly customizable Vasco. Maybe.
I think so for sure. I think it would be weird for them to show like. I mean, I guess the two possibilities here are that Vasco is customizable, and they're showing that, or they're showing like how they made Vasco, like over time, like different iterations of him. And I think that's just confusing. So I think the customization possibility is the far more likely one. I haven't played it, so you might be able to give some more insight on this. But I thought of Automaton when I saw, this robot that has different limbs and, those serve different functions. Could you talk a little bit about the robot customization and like the effects it had on like what piece you chose and what it would do?
The Fallout 4 DLC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with that, it's basically build your own robot army. Like, it's very simple. But the way that works is you can customize Codsworth or Curie. Like, you can turn Codsworth into a tank. I love that. But you can just create a new robot from scratch. You can give it mix and match any parts. Give a Mr. Handy a Assaultron legs, or I don't know, give an Assaultron a rocket booster of a Mr. Handy, or Protectron legs, or Sentry legs. The Oh, what do you call them? The big robots.
Oh, SentryBot?
Yeah, that's it. So there's all kinds. I mean, I was disappointed because, well, I say disappointed as if I was massively disappointed. I wasn't. I loved the DLC. But, like, I kind of wish there were Securitrons as an Easter egg to New Vegas, but I understand why. Because, from a lore perspective, it doesn't really make sense because they're not really well known outside of Vegas. Or they don't go very far out of Vegas, the Securitrons, so. But I don't know. I hold out for these kinds of Easter eggs.
That sounds so cool. Like giving a Mr. Handy like assaultron legs. That's awesome. Um, were there any pieces that like gave them more health or like they did more damage? Something like that.
Yeah, I think with the Protectrons you could choose their... You know, I can't remember now. I'm not sure if you could give them Protectron abilities like the Medic one. I'm not sure anymore. You could definitely give them like Sentry arms, I think. It's been so long since I played that DLC. I need to replay that.
I was just wondering if it was maybe like a little precursor to how this Vasco thing might work.
I could see it. It's a modular design, so I'd think... I won't say why not. You know, we know Vasco is armed. Why can't we just, you know... What I want to do is attach 50 cal turrets to Vasco's shoulder.
That'd be awesome. Big weapon on his shoulders. We did see a few of the tools he can carry during the video. And there was like a crane. It seems like he's really good for like carrying things, which you predicted way before this video, like 3 episodes ago. You say he looks like he's good for picking things up, carrying them. Storage and like holding things for you during like land journeys is one of his main purposes. So props to you. Good job. We also see he has like a crane to pick things up, big old backpack, some like feet things. Those things on his feet.
To me, they look like grips. I don't know how to say if like I like on his feet because they're flat. There might be like picks or something on the floor, or underneath them, or like retractable. I don't know. So something like that. Maybe, you know, like on an icy world, so he doesn't, you know, slip over. Because if Vasco slipped over, I don't think it'd probably be a massive pain to get Vasco back up.
Like a turtle.
Yeah. So maybe there's like retractable grips that like dig into ice and stuff, so where he doesn't slip over. That would sort of make sense because then he really is all purpose for exploration.
I feel kind of bad saying this, but I really can't wait to see Vasco ragdoll.
Someone's gonna do it.
Just like fly across the room from an explosion or something. I can't wait.
Could you imagine like a cargo hold got blown up and you just see Vasco floating in space? He just waves at you as he's floating.
This little wave. One of the other tools they showed was a set of ice picks. So we've seen like snowy environments. Vasco will have ice axes to like scale icy cliffs. That's sort of interesting.
He also has a tow hook.
To get the frontier unstuck when it's caught in a ditch.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, practically what they could be for, because he has the grabby arms to pick things up. I mean, Is it literally just like drag heavy things behind him?
Well, I think I've brought it up before, but like the way his legs bend backwards, it looks like his arms could like, wrap around crates and stuff, so. Because I don't know how, besides like, I don't know, squeezing a crate so it doesn't fall, I don't know how strong his grip would be. Like, his fingers are quite thin and, there doesn't look like there's a lot of strength in them. Well, probably stronger than my hand, but,
Yeah, it does seem like he would struggle a bit with those kind of finer hand movements. He won't struggle with the finer hand movement of pulling the trigger on a big old gun, because he has one of those too.
Indeed he does, hidden behind the hands.
It looks like a Gatling gun, like that's some heavy duty stuff. But he only uses it when he needs to.
Yeah. It kind of explains why there's like what looks to be piping coming out of one of the arms, or both of the arms, sorry. Like, some of that might not be piping, might be ammunition loaders. Of course, unless Vasco shoots energy weapons, maybe he might not need traditional ammo.
He could. The gun, I thought there was a drum, like an ammunition drum at the top of the gun, but it's kind of oddly placed. So it could be something different.
It's interesting to think about.
And I wonder, just on that comment about Vasco only using his weapons if like necessary, defensively. If we're in, let's say, New Atlantis with Vasco, and we just decide to like just go on a rampage and start shooting people, does Vasco help? It doesn't sound like it. But it would be, I don't know. I feel like he might, I don't know. It seems to me like he would just shoot whatever we're shooting at.
Yeah.
That is Vasco. Some good lore there. That's just one of the companions. So there are a lot of others, many of which I'm sure are human. No word yet. Actually, I think there is word that we can't romance Vasco.
Damn it.
Yeah. You can't stop me, Todd. The internet will find some ways, I'm sure. But there we go. That's Vasco.
So, on April 26th, Into the Starfield Episode 3, The Sound of Adventure was uploaded. It's a little different because in this video, because it's about audio, the video features audio director Mark Lampert and composer Yzra, and they discuss the music of Starfield. The music is inspired by the same basic questions that are inspiring the game. New music can actually be heard during the video, I think, which kind of cool if it is new.
I think so. I saw some people pointing that out online, and I listened back, and I'm 99% sure there's new music in there. I would just like to take a moment and talk about Mark Lampert. That guy is a superstar. He joined the company in 2005, which he shares in the video. But what a lot of people might not know is that I believe it's changed now, but through Skyrim, he was Bethesda Game Studios' audio department. Like, he was the only sound guy, and he did a really darn good job. So he is one of the best in the business for sound design in games, as far as I'm concerned. But it was fun to hear him talk at a little bit of length with Enon about the sound and music of Starfield. At Astra Starfield on Twitter, good friend of the show, made a Twitter thread kind of analyzing episode 3. And they believe that some of the things said in this video hint at Starfield's gameplay loop. There's one part in the video where Yzra is talking about the circularity of like the Starfield main theme, how it kind of comes back to the same melody. And Mark Lampert goes, "You mean circular?" Anon hadn't used the word circular, and Lampert did. And he kind of alluded to Lampert of like going out and exploring and then coming back to your ship, to your perhaps settlement, and making like a circular gameplay loop there, which is the gameplay loop that Bethesda's done for, I don't know, since the beginning of their modern age in Morrowind. Interesting to hear them talk about how they come up with the music. They said the main theme is one of the earliest things they work on, along with the concept art very early in the game's development, and then it can be adapted if necessary throughout development. Some of the information is kind of already out there in regards to Bethesda Game Studios, as far as them working on music very early. That's something Todd's talked about at length over the last decade or so, how they make the music so early on. But it was still really interesting. This is kind of straight from the horse's mouth, the audio director and the composer talking about it. The video also gave 7 juicy new concept art. So, oh boy, back to the concept art analysis. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
So the first one is the protagonist overlooking this little settlement. It's really pretty. It's sunset, sun's going down, or maybe sunrise. I like to think sunset. But this settlement's interesting because it looks like something that would be constructed closer to modern day than a lot of the other things we've seen. So we've seen New Atlantis and Neon, and they're all these like big, tall cities with incredible architecture and stuff. And this is just kind of this crudely constructed, it almost looks portable, like this little settlement that is probably meant for, explorers or researchers to stay on probably a toxic planet for a few months at a time or whatever. But just a very different building style from anything we've seen here.
Yeah, it looks like some of those Mars concepts in particular. Like building a base on Mars or something.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like, I don't know what planet it could be. I know you mean like the structure itself looks like, how we view a Martian colony. I totally agree. I just like the geology. This one isn't Mars. I don't know.
No, I don't think it's. I mean, I'm kind of hoping Sol could be in Starfield, but I'm not really sure if Earth's really gonna be a big point of Starfield. I mean, we live on Earth. It's probably gonna be even more like, I don't know, fictional politics. I don't know, like, the UC's got the largest fleet, so the 3-star and UC are fighting. Where does Earth fit into that? Is Earth no longer, like, the capital of humanity, or what? Like, what's going on? That's questions I need to know. But, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get those answers until we actually physically get the game, and that's fine. Because I like the mysteries.
I think Soul will be in the game because like it's at the center of the settled system, so like we'll be going all around it unless the whole solar system got destroyed somehow, which is possible. Earth though, I think Earth is gone.
Yeah, I think if Earth is still a political power, why does the UC have the strongest fleet? And why is the 3-star, maintaining that uneasy peace with the United Colonies? Like, you'd think, like, if Earth was this massive political power, it'd probably, like, kind of settle the war or something. I don't know. Maybe Earth becomes, like, a lost cause. Something, meteorite impact, I don't know.
That kind of raises an interesting conversation. Like, right now, our main motivator, I think it could be strongly argued, for space exploration is like the pursuit of science and knowledge, like what is out there, um, what are all these different planets like. At what point does it switch to we need to explore space so that we have like places to live? You know what I mean? So whether that's from climate change or the asteroid impact, I think that probably happened in Starfield. So then once we started doing that, do we have camps like this where research is still the goal? Or have we moved beyond that?
Mm. Well, I mean, to be fair, we believe New Atlantis is in Alpha Centauri, that system. That's only like 4.37 light years away from Earth. Or our solar system, anyway. So that's fairly close, right? Compared to like 50 light years, which is maximum range.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe the UC are the remnants of Earth's political like stuff, maybe. That's like a wild shot in the dark speculation.
I also wonder if any factions will be tied to like countries. Lots of super duper interesting questions there. But there are a couple of other things in this concept art. Uh, there are robots outside that are not Vasco robots, when they're not the floaty robot with the stuffed animal on its back. We have a new type of robot. And it runs on like snowmobile tracks. It doesn't have legs, it doesn't float in the air. So now we have 3 different ways that the robots can get around, which is very cool. The robots also look a lot like Vasco in the top half, but the bottom half is completely different. So that could be more evidence to support this customizable robot idea.
Is that what look kind of like in the middle right? I've like questioned myself. Is that a campfire of some sort?
Your guess is as good as mine. It looked like a Christmas tree to me, but you know. It's such a small detail. Is there like gas coming up out of it? I wonder if it's a vent for like an underground tunnel.
Yeah. My mind jumps to fire, but that's not orange flames. Like if anything, the smoke would be more like if it was a like sort of like a campfire. Maybe it's just a beacon, or like you said, a vent. I actually think the thing next to the player is the beacon, so NPCs know that's the settlement. That's just my theory on that.
I like that. And also, to support your idea that that could be fire, what if this is a planet? It already seems kind of toxic based on the way the settlement's constructed. We have our space helmet on. What if it's in a planet where the atmosphere makes flames green?
That could be kind of cool.
And then the last thing I noticed about this one is that in the back left, it looks like there's an entrance to an underground part of the settlement.
Ooh, that kind of backs up that it's a vent. I suppose, like, with bases, it makes sense to build most of it underground. Because that would only require really drilling and sealing off. Like, if it's underground, surely you can make air pockets underneath. You know, because ground's quiet. But I suppose it depends how deep you dug.
I think I got you. Like you could make an airtight room underground.
Mm.
You ready to move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
The next concept art is a very cozy, comfy looking one. It's a young woman sitting in like the well of a circular window in space, reading a book. Seems to be like her like bedroom. Seems very lived in.
Yeah, I kind of like this one. Yeah, because it's like really cozy. Like the room looks lived in. I think that's the right term. You know, this person has like they have like a bunch of posters on the wall and like pictures stuck to the window. But the one thing about this, I would never sit in a window like that. And the reason why I wouldn't is because in space, there's like no bottom, right? This is an infinite drop, and I'm scared of heights. So to me, that would like, I don't know. I wouldn't like to go near a window like that. I don't like those kind of pointing outward circular windows in the real life. I don't know, they just scare me. Like, you'd never catch me in one of those windows, ever.
It is kind of scary because space is a vacuum. So if that window gets like a little crack in it, then that's she's out in space. She's gone.
That's game over.
Yeah. Make sure you quick save before you sit in the window. But I noticed that music poster she has says Encore. We've seen a couple of those. We also saw one in Aquila City in that lived in space, the bedroom that had a bucket for a toilet. So we've seen a couple of those now. I think this might indicate that Bethesda is making a bunch of custom music. It'll be like contemporary for the time, and then we'll be able to hear it on the radio in our ship.
Oh, that could be cool. You alright for us to move on to the next one?
For sure.
Okay, so the next one is like a swampy kind of planet. Well, it's a new environment, and it looks like a swamp because like the trees, but the trees are huge, like abnormally huge. And it gives me Dagobah vibes from Star Wars. So maybe we're gonna see a Yoda knockoff in there.
You beat me to the Star Wars reference this month. But yeah, before the show, you said this was your favorite one, and I agree. It's great. Those trees, they look like mangroves, which are something I don't know what parts of the world they're in, except I know they're in kind of the Bahamas, like that near Florida type thing. Mangroves are these trees that like they have roots that are above water and then they sit in water, but they look really weird because the webs like shoot out from the trunk a couple feet above the water. So they're just really unique looking trees. And these look like mangroves. But the trunks are a lot thicker and obviously the trees are a lot huger than real mangroves. So I'm thinking of them as kind of like a cross between giant redwoods and mangroves. But really cool flora here.
We even have to play for scale, like most concept does. And it really, like, these trees are massive. I don't think a tree in real life can ever dream to be that big.
I wonder if this is the same planet as some of the jungle ones we've seen before, but just in a different region. Because both of them have this giant vegetation, very like high levels of moisture in the environment. But there's like a really clear distinction between the swamp we see here and the like jungle rainforest we saw before. It makes me wonder, like, we've seen all these different environments, some of them kind of similar biomes in terms of like climate. I just wonder like how many planets can there be? Like, some of these have got to be on the same planet, unless they're just. I mean, as I think it was Gob said. I mean, our expectations just keep getting busted time and time again. So maybe there really are just that many planets. A few times I've taken things in different concept arts that have, for example, a person that provide a definitive level of scale and figure out like how tall the thing in the concept art is. And I was hoping to do that with these trees, but I don't think it's going to be possible because the player is standing like in a different plane from the trees. They're a lot closer to the camera, so you can't get a good idea of how tall the trees are compared to the person just because they're not the same distance away from the camera. That does make the trees even bigger though, because the person appears larger than they would if they were next to the tree. So, like you say, the trees are absolutely massive. So can't wait to explore Dagobah. You ready to move on to the next ship interior?
Yep.
So the next one, like I said, is a cramped like ship interior. It's really busy, lots of pipes, and a lot of love put into the design. And it was during this concept art that we could hear a little sample of ship interior ambiance that Mark Lampert put together. He was talking about how he created the ship ambiance, sometimes taking like straight from the soundtrack and like stretching it out and reversing it, things like that. And it was after his comments about that that we could hear an excerpt of that over this concept art. I noticed there's a first aid box on the wall, so that could be maybe how we heal. Yeah. Is there anything that caught your eye?
It gives me, and I've seen this said before, it gives me Titanfall vibes.
I did not expect that.
Yeah, it strikes me as like something you'd see out of Titanfall, right?
I didn't play Titanfall, so I can't say.
You should definitely play it.
I should.
Well, the sequel, because the first game doesn't have a campaign, but that's the vibe I get off it. But also, that door appears to have an airlock, like a mechanism of some sort, and also a type of computer, maybe one we can interact with. You know,
Turn
like,
off gravity, you think?
collect data. I don't know.
According to Branson Garvey on 4chan, you can turn off gravity and all the clutter items float in the air.
That'd be cool. But it's from 4chan.
Yeah, that's the thing, Can't put too much value into that.
In general, this concept art is insane. Like, the details. To be honest, I've never really looked at concept. In particular, like, going out and looking at concept for other games. But I'm in awe of how detailed concept art is in general. Like, especially this concept art, it looks amazing.
That's kind of a newer thing. Like, if you look at Fallout 3 concept arts, some of them don't have color. They're more like sketches. So that's something that seemed to have like come online like Fallout 4-ish, maybe Skyrim a little bit. But yeah, you're exactly right. Like, it's amazing. And to think they made so many, just crazy. Next one is another dry desert shot. I love this one because some of the vegetation looks like a chicken wrap, like like a wrap you'd get at like Taco Bell or something.
Probably wouldn't taste good though.
No, whatever's inside of the wrap doesn't look like chicken. It looks like sea urchins.
Purple sea urchins.
Yeah, this is a cool one though because you got like those rolling sand dunes, and like I was saying earlier, kind of like with the swamp versus the jungle thing, we've seen dry desert-like environments before, but it's different flavors of that type of climate. So I just wonder if these are all separate planets or if each biome is its own planet. I don't know.
Something I haven't seen really discussed is that ringed planet in the distance. I'm assuming it's ringed because there's like what seems to be a partial part of the ring, but there's not a lot of the sky you can see, and that seems to be going around the planet. So maybe that planet opposite us is a ringed planet, which should be an amazing sight to see.
Do you think we're on a desert moon?
Ooh, we could be.
Can't wait to see all the different skies. The other thing I noticed about this one is that this is another art that shows the new, I guess we'll call it the world design philosophy that seems to be governing Starfield, with more negative space in between locations, more untapped wilderness, more, you can say emptiness from what we've seen. There are interviews where BGS employees talk about this idea of negative space and finding the right balance between, like, is it too dense versus too empty? So I'm thinking if we have our own ship to traverse regions, um, more and more the consensus seems to be that flight will be in the game. Maybe there's a need for, or I'm sorry, maybe the need for condensed and cramped maps that they've had before is gone, and you can open it up more geographic area, lean harder into procedural generation. Seems that's what I'm getting from a lot of these arts.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We move on to the next one.
Yes.
So the next one is the protagonist looking into a huge cave. And there's like water flowing from these rocks in like the background. And there's like a blue hue to this art as well. Like, it kind of adds to like, is this a cave?
Yeah, it looks like there's like a wall in the background, but you can't really see the ceiling. So you can't tell for sure that it's a cave. There's some kind of light getting in somewhere. So it seems like a cave, but I don't think that's necessarily known for sure. It could just be nighttime.
Yeah.
And we've seen a couple arts, I think, of like snowy ice caves that kind of look like they could be from Skyrim. And I wonder if this could be another one of those. Other than that, not too much art information to pull. Just a pretty fun one to look at. The next one, though, is very interesting. So it's a landing platform like within a large structure thing. Like a very large structure. And there are two ships we can see. One of them is flying, one of them is landed. Two people on this circular landing platform as well. The ship that's landed is refueling. You can see the hoses connected to it, refilling with that helium-3.
It's very empty, I want to say. I'm not sure what the function of this place is. Like, is this just storage or... Because there's not really a lot going on, right? I mean, we can kind of make out what looks to be machinery, and there's obviously the massive platform of people. But I don't know, I mean, maybe if this is like the same world as that concept we talked about last episode of that rocky world with like the landing bay and all that.
This could potentially be like the same facility. The scale, just the scale of like the buildings and the machinery seems kind of on par.
This one doesn't show a lot either, really.
Yeah, some of them show so much that there ends up not being as much detail on the little things, and you can't tell what they are. You want to bring us home for this last concept art from episode 3?
Absolutely. So this next one is of a ship I don't think we know its registration, but it's really confusing. I've interpreted this as that's a ringed planet. The ship's flying by, and that's the ring. Those are the rings. But they appeared blurred because I believe if you got close to one of those rings, you'd just see rocks, wouldn't you?
I think so.
But I don't know. Maybe put halfway across. I don't know, because that kind of looks like the edge of the rings. Maybe I don't know. There's motion blur on this, so you can kind of make out rocks on like the far right side, but it's all blurry. And also the ship's casting a shadow on them. I've just only noticed that somehow.
That shadow is what is really throwing me off with this one, because it makes it seem like the ship is just a few feet above the rings. But if you look at the curvature of the rings, that would make them really, really small in diameter, in circumference. And this is something that Ad Astra Starfield touched on in their Twitter thread as well, was that these rings look so small that perhaps it's a hint at the scale BGS is going to be using for the planets. It could be something like Outer Wilds, where the planets are like not really planet-sized planets, but that enables them to do the free flight thing.
Something has popped in my head. What if these rings are smaller? Now, I don't know if this is actually possible, but if this is a moon that has rings, and the rings would be smaller if it's a moon. At least that's how my brain's picturing it, but I'm not sure if moons can have rings, or we just haven't found a planet like that. Sorry, we haven't found a moon like that.
That's a good question. Or even an asteroid. With that, though, I think that's pretty much it for episode 3. We're not done with the news, though. On April 29th, Starfield tweeted, just out of the blue, and posted on their website, a Spotify playlist that was compiled by Mark Lampert and Inon Zor as kind of a list of songs that inspired the Starfield score. What's interesting is that it's not all classical music. There's some synthwave in there. There's a song from 1948. It's a lot more musically expansive than just classical scores and sci-fi movie scores. And that's pretty cool because Inon Zor made an Instagram comment months ago responding to someone that basically confirmed that synthwave music is used for Neon. So the Starfield suite is amazing, of course. I've listened to it so many times, but there's going to be more to the soundtrack than the orchestral stuff that we heard.
I believe they also added the Starfield suite to the playlist.
Yeah, the Starfield suite influenced the Starfield soundtrack, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm assuming that was just to get fans excited to end the playlist with the Starfield suite, but still kind of funny.
I'll have it linked in the video description. On YouTube anyway. On other platforms, probably not. But on the YouTube version, definitely, where we have the like visual concept art of what we're talking about.
Very cool. We try to say at every show, the podcast is best listened to on YouTube because you get those visual aids of the concept arts as we break them down. So that's the playlist. We normally do news in chronological order, but we made a slight exception this month because that Starfield playlist was so closely related to the episode 3 Into the Starfield video, with them both being about music. These last 2 bits of news are leaks. These happened 2 days before the Starfield playlist and the day after Into the Starfield episode 3. So kind of in the middle there is a really busy few days for the Starfield community. On April 27th, there was a leaked Todd Howard interview snippet. He just talked more about the process, like when the music is written. It's usually done right after concept art. Almost everything he says is also mentioned by Mark Lampert and Yzra in episode 3 of Into the Starfield. So that in terms of pulling value about, like pulling information about Bethesda's processes and stuff, I didn't see too much in it. It sounded like he was talking to a group of like game dev students or something. Who knows? But that's out on the internet if you seek it. And then on the same day, April 27th, this one's kind of comical. A ResetEra user named Heavy008, who is verified on ResetEra. For anybody not familiar, in order to get verified on ResetEra, you have to verify with the mods and admins that you work in the game industry. That's my understanding. So Heavy008 is certainly a game developer. Wasn't known for sure if they worked at Bethesda, but they claimed to. And I suppose I'll just read their initial post here. Somebody asked them a few questions about working at Bethesda. How was your time there? Is Todd as charismatic as he looks in his interviews? And I got to ask, how's Starfield looking? Do you think it will hit the release date? Heavy008 responded, it was cool, solid place to work, very secure. The engine is a piece of crap though. Todd is a charismatic guy for sure. Starfield is looking good. Weekly Thursday playtest since the beginning of the year. More and more stuff coming online. Shooting feels right. Flying is terrible at the moment, in my opinion. Important part there, in my opinion. Just not fun to me. Lighting and stuff is looking better and better, but it's not on the level of Horizon Forbidden West or anything like that, but still a good looking game. In terms of if it will ship on time, they will try, that's for sure. They'll cut out what they need to, etc. They have an overabundance of content, probably too much, so that's not the issue. Finding the fun of, and of course, bug fixing is the big thing. It's a sexy date though, and you only get one of those. Beta is this summer. That's when the picture will truly become clear. A lot of information packed into a few sentences.
Indeed. And very well might have broken his NDA.
Yeah, he might get in some trouble here.
Yeah. Like, yikes.
Yeah. It seemed to me, he later deleted his account once people started telling him, you just basically confirmed manual flight in Starfield. So he probably realized he had said more than he was supposed to. He didn't seem like somebody who was really like in tune, I'll say, with the Starfield community and stuff. Like what was known, what wasn't. And he was just kind of talking and answering that person's questions. But their comments about flying, saying it's terrible at the moment. First of all, so before everyone panics, first of all, the game doesn't come out for another 7 months. So there's plenty of time for them to fine tune the flight, make it better. Secondly, I mentioned it while I was reading it. This is the Heavy008's opinion. Thirdly, remember why we play Bethesda Game Studios games in the first place. We are looking for wide open, rich worlds that are fun to explore, packed with content. We've never really played those games for how we traverse from one location to another. We never played Bethesda games for the vehicles because it never had them. Like, we will still be able to enjoy this game even if the flight truly is garbage. And I'm not just coping, like, I'm genuinely not too concerned with how the flight feels.
No, me neither. It's not why we, like you say, it's not why we play Bethesda games.
And I was genuinely thrilled to hear that there's an overabundance of content. Like, that sounds great. Like, yay. We already kind of know that from the voice lines, but yeah, that's awesome.
What's even more interesting is Jason Schreyer, like, backed up that this guy was a developer.
Yeah, Jason Schreyer is very, very reliable. He first got on my radar when he leaked the Fallout 4 script, I think in early 2015, maybe even 2014.
I'm gonna blow your mind. It was in December of 2013.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah. So Jason Schreier has a lot of inside knowledge and he would know. So he says Heavy008 is who they say they are, which is a former Bethesda game dev. I'm going to believe it. With that in mind, if Heavy008 is a former Bethesda employee, it's worth considering that there could be some disgruntledness, maybe, that um, they would want to make Starfield look like it's worse than it actually is. And I'm not even saying that Heavy painted Starfield in a bad light. Aside from the flying, they made it sound pretty cool. But it's just another element to this that, worth considering.
So I think that's everything for this month, really. Unless you have anything else to add.
Don't think so. We got through it all.
And we're gonna give a sneak peek onto what the next episode's going to be. Do you want to take this away?
Yeah, the show next month is one you will not want to miss. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a friend or two. We don't know. We're still working things out, hopefully. And we're going to make a game out of our Summer Games Showcase predictions. So we're going to have a bunch of topics, like things that we think will be in the game. At the end, we'll do some goofy ones, like will Todd drop the F-bomb? And we're going to make our predictions. And then we're going to record all those. And then after the showcase, we're going to tally up points, and there's going to be a winner who gets bragging rights on social media. So that's going to be a ton of fun. It should be really like relaxed and fun. Be sure to join us next month for that show, and you can participate too and tally up your own points. Let us know how you did after the showcase.
Alright, so let's move on to the final segment, which is recommendations. What have you got to recommend this month, Mitch?
This month, it's one I've considered for several months, and I'm going to do it for the meme. Animal Crossing New Horizons. There's a real reason to. So it's one of my favorite games. It's on the Switch only. I'm sure you've heard about it. It was kind of took the world by storm for a few months at the beginning of the pandemic. The reason I picked it is because of that exchange between Mark Lampert and Einon Zur talking about the circularity of the gameplay loop. And I kind of drew a connection between that and Animal Crossing. So in Starfield, we're thinking, well, you'll go out in the environment and like loot stuff and then come back to your base and kind of reorganize and then go out and do it again. Animal Crossing has a mechanic where you can go to your airport and fly to an island and explore it, get resources and stuff, and then come back and use those resources on your own island. So it's kind of a loose connection, maybe an excuse to recommend Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I have about 300 hours in that game and absolutely love it.
That's a good pick.
What did you pick?
I'm going to pick Fallout 4. Because I haven't beat Mass Effect 3 yet. I haven't got around to it. So, yeah, I'm going to recommend Fallout 4. It's a fun game, like we were talking about Automatron building earlier. That's a fun DLC. And then, of course, Far Harbor. Great piece of content. I'm sure many of you have already played Fallout 4, but, maybe give it a second run, because it was their last single-player game. Bethesda's Game Studios' last single-player game.
You can never go wrong with Fallout 4. That remains my favorite BGS game to just like put on music and wander aimlessly in. Love Fallout 4. With that, then, I think we've reached the end of the show.
Yep. Just quickly though, remember again, if you're on YouTube, it helps us if you subscribe. If you're not subscribed, to subscribe to the channel. Give the video a like. It helps us grow. So just a quick note on that, and yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, everyone. If you're listening on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, like Yzra said. Follow us on Reddit, where it all started, r/Lorefield, LorefieldNet on Twitter. And be sure to join us next month for our E3, not E3, our Summer Games Showcase predictions with a friend or two. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye all.